And that's when he says it.
I killed Mufasa.
And Simba immediately gets active. Bro somehow jumps from this ledge till on top of Scar. And that boy yells out, murder! Nah, bro done really messed up. Yeah, so it's been a month since I last uploaded. And I told you I was gonna get a video out once a week. I'm gonna keep it a buck, realize that's not gonna happen. We're gonna stick to bi-weekly, and we're gonna act like October didn't happen, okay? October did not happen. It's November now, all right? We're up. We're locked in. Stick behind me and enjoy the fruits of my labor. Yeah, but I am really sorry about the wait. But don't worry, this month, I'ma move faster. Come on, move faster. And I'm trying to test out a new YouTube feature right now. So if you see a hype button somewhere on your screen, I would appreciate it if you pressed it, but only, of course, if you enjoyed the video. Oi, bruv, just wanted to say, I filmed the first half of this video while I was quite sick, and then I recorded the second half a little bit later. So if it sounds like two bloody people, it kind of was, innit? Nah, alright, so we start off with this mouse. He's running around, he's doing that little thing flies be doing, you know, feeling himself, touching his face and all that.
Sir, are you okay?
And then boom! We then see a lion that goes by the name of Scar, picked up the mouse, you know, as a little snack. But instead of eating him immediately, he tells him, I should have been king, but now there's a little lion cub that's gonna be king instead of me. Then right as he's about to eat him, a bird by the name of Zazu, or is this a toucan? Is this a toucan? I don't know, nigga. A bird by the name of Zazu tells him, did no one ever tell you not to play with your food? Scar's just like, Zazu, what the hell do you want? Zazu basically tells him that his brother, Mufasa, yeah, Mufasa. Yo, that nigga that did that dance, bro, and had all those girls chanting Mufasa forever ruined that name for me, okay? I'm not going to be saying that as much as I probably need to in this vid. I don't care. He basically explains to him that Mufasa's going to be mad. He missed Simba, his nephew's ceremony to, to be born. Actually, what the f was the point of that ceremony? Or was it to make him a prince? I don't know. He missed the ceremony. And while he's explaining this, Scar's mouse that he had ran away. So Scar's basically just like, well, now I need a new snack. And he snags Zazu. But Mufasa steps in just at the right time and makes Scar spit out Zazu. Mufasa basically just presses him about not attending the ceremony. And Scar just like, oh, it must have slipped my mind. Zazu then says, with you being the next in line, you should have attended the ceremony. He then explains that seeing as Mufasa has a son, he's no longer the next in line, giving us a little exposition, you know. He's sour, bro. He's upset. Scar starts walking away and Mufasa's just like, don't turn your back on me, Scar. And he says, no, you shouldn't turn your back on me. I don't know why I make that voice, but that's kind of what he sounds like. You got to keep it 1,000. Mufasa takes that as a challenge. You're just like, what's up then, ninja? Scar basically says that, you know, Mufasa is way stronger than him, so he would never fight him one-on-one, but he's smarter than him, so he can outsmart him. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't say he outsmarted Mufasa. I think Mufasa just didn't plan on his brother being a slimy bitch-ass, fuck-ass, backdooring bitch-ass ninja. Yeah, we're real Scar K over here. Ninja. Scar. Anywho, as Scar's leaving, Mufasa asks Zazu, damn, what are we gonna do with him? And Zazu says turn him into a throw rug. Exactly, bro. That boy Zazu know what I'm talking about. We then cut to Simba stepping on Pride Rock and waking up his dad and his mom. They basically just go on the top of Pride Rock, like not the part where like he got like, you know, thrown off the cliff, but more so like the literal top. They're like at the top. Anywho, they just sit there and they watch the sunrise. Mufasa basically just tells him that he owns everything that the sun touches. And then Simba asks about the dark place over there, and Mufasa's just like, yeah, we can't go over there. Simba then says, but I thought we're kings, we could do whatever we want. Mufasa tells him there's more than a king than doing whatever you want. Then he basically explains to him that everything around them exists in a balance, and as a king, you need to keep that balance and maintain it. Basically explaining to him the circle of life, you know, the circle of life. Anywho, Zazu comes and he's just like, I got a morning report. While he's talking, Simba sees a grasshopper and he tries to pounce on it. Mufasa sees this and he's just like, let me show you how it's done, son. So then he gets Zazu to turn around, but Zazu's suspicious, so then he's just like, what's going on? Mufasa's just like, it's a pouncing lesson. So he's just like, yo, I'm not trying to get pounced on. And then Mufasa hits the iconic gif I know every guy on Instagram has seen in the comment section. Yeah, ninja. I know what type of man you are. I know what type of man. Yeah, ninja. Anywho, with the guidance of Mufasa, Simba successfully pounces on Zazu. A groundhog comes out the ground. He's just like, Zazu, I have news from the underground. Zazu then tells Mufasa that there's hyenas in the Pride Land. And that boy gets active. No hesitation, no words, no talking. Straight to action. He tells Simba to go home, and Simba's just like, oh man, I wish I could help. I just can't wait to be king. Yeah, I can't wait to be king. Yeah. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay. We cut to him back on Pride Rock, and he starts messing with Scar. He basically just tells Scar that he's gonna be king of Pride Rock, and then he asks Scar, what will that make him? And he says a monkey's uncle. I mean, I don't know, this is a funny little joke. Then Scar said, I bet your dad didn't show you that shadowy area on the northern border. And Simba just like, yeah, he said I can't go there. And then Scar says, yeah, of course, because that's only for the bravest lions, and you know, he wouldn't let you go there. Simba's just like, I'm brave. I'm sure you're brave, but an elephant graveyard is just too much for you. Simba's just like, what, an elephant graveyard? And Scar just like, no, I said too much. This slimy ass fuck ass
Ninja.
this
Ninja.
Damn, I hate this
Ninja.
Scar. But Scar gets him to promise that he'll never go to the elephant graveyard, knowing damn well that's the first thing Simba's gonna do. You know, he planted a little seed in his mind. Look at this slimy nigga. Look at the way he smiles when he walks away, man. Got me feeling like Charleston White talking about young boy.
Who did the young people pick as their leader? NBA young boy. Ooh, give me gas talking about that little boy.
Simba then runs over to Nala to go get her to go to the elephant graveyard. After convincing their mothers to let them go, they then say that Zazu has to go with them. They're just like, oh man, not Zazu. While they're whispering about plans on how to ditch Zazu, Zazu swoops down. Then Zazu says that it's so cute that they're hanging out together with them being betrothed or I just heard the word and don't remember what the f he said. He said betrothed. Anywho, yeah, they're intended to be married. I didn't even pick this up when I was a kid, obviously, because I didn't know what the f he was talking about. But yeah, they have to be married, you know, because like, you know, royalty and shit, and that's what they do. Simba's just like, ew, I'm not trying to marry her, that's my friend. He then basically says when he's king, that'll be the first rule he gets done with. And if you've ever watched this movie, you know this is about to turn into a song. And just like in Brother Bear, the soundtrack in this movie is fucking oh, I just can't wait to be king. Yeah, obviously I was joking. The Lion King soundtrack is tough. But through this whole like song and montage and everything, they basically, this is how they get rid of Zazu, is like through the song. Yeah, they do all this extravagant shit and a rhino ends up sitting on him. Breaking down the song a little bit, it's basically Simba saying he can't wait to be king and how he's gonna basically abuse his powers is what the song's about. And Zazu's just like, I don't want to be here for that, and I'll go away from Africa if you end up doing that and you're acting like a brat. But it's catchy and Simba's the main character right now, so f Zazu. But not f Zazu because he's pretty reasonable. After successfully evading Zazu, Simba calls himself a genius, and Nala is basically just like, it was my plan, you didn't think of nothing. So then Simba goes to tackle her, but she ends up pinning him, and then he does it again, and they roll down this hill. She pins him again, and they realize they're at the elephant graveyard. They see a dead elephant, and they're just like, yo, I wonder what's inside. Right as they're about to enter, Zazu pulls up. Zazu basically just says that they need to leave and that we're all in danger, and Simba's just like, yeah, I laugh in the face of danger. But then you hear the hyenas laugh behind him, and that boy gets scared immediately. That boy ain't laughing in the face of nothing. So the hyenas start approaching him, and this boy Ed bro, they really looking like the three dragons, bro. Oh my gosh, I never noticed how absolutely like derpy this ninja Ed was. One of them recognizes Zazu and is just like, oh, this is Mufasa's bird or whatever. Then they look at Simba and they're just like, whoa, that must make you his son. And he's just like, yeah, I'm the future king. Simba is under the impression that they can't do anything to him, but Zazu reminds them that they're no longer in their jurisdiction. But the hyenas get distracted while joking around, saying they're gonna wait for dinner to have whatever is lying around, you know, because they're like lions or whatever. Anywho, while they're doing all this joking, they run away. They snag Zazu and they put him in this like cauldron or something, and he shoots out of it like a rocket. And then Simba pulls up and he's just like, why don't you pick on somebody your own size? I don't know who Buddy thinks he is. But then they obviously start chasing his little dumb ass. Him and Nala are running for dear life. They use this like elephant skeleton as like a slide, and they end up climbing up this like hill of bones. But Nala falls behind, so Simba goes back to help her, and that boy scratches one of the hyenas. Whew, got boy good too. They end up running into this little like cave thing, and it's a dead end. So with their backs up against the wall, Simba lets off a roar. But they laugh at him and tell him to do it again. And then when he does it again, that boy Mufasa pulls up. That boy started off with a collateral hit, bro, and he's just going back and forth. He ends up putting them all down, and he's just like, don't ever come near my son again, bro. That boy moving different. And obviously they're scared. They're just like, damn, we didn't even know that was your son. And Mufasa roars and they get to skedaddling out of there. Then Zazu nods his head at him and like looks at him. And I never noticed this before, but then like Mufasa makes this face at him. Now he could just be pissed because like the situation, but like there's no way he blames Zazu for this, right? I mean, like he really didn't do anything. His mischievous, sneaky ass kid just fucking literally got him crushed to be here. Anywho, Mufasa tells everyone they have to go home. And then we get a glimpse of this slime ass fucking ninja on top of the thing, watching the whole time. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Fuck this nigga Scar. Anywho, we cut to them walking back home. And Mufasa tells Zazu to take Nala home. He wants to have a private talk with Simba. Mufasa basically tells him he's very disappointed because he disobeyed him. One, because he went to the little shadowy area. And he put him and Nala in danger. Simba says he just wanted to be brave like his dad. And Mufasa explains to him that he's only brave when he has to be. He also tells him that being brave doesn't mean that you go looking for trouble. He also explains that he was scared today because he was scared he would lose Simba. Simba then says he thinks the hyenas were even more scared. You know, it turns into this cute little moment and they start playing around. Simba then asks his dad if they're pals. He says yes, and then he also asks if they'll always be together. Then Mufasa tells him about the stars and about how the great kings of the past are in the stars, and if you ever need guidance, you can look up and look for guidance in the stars, and that's where he'll be when he dies. We then cut back to the hyenas, and they're talking about how they're upset about being at the bottom of the food chain, and if the lions didn't exist, then they would be running the joint. But as they're having this conversation, Scar comes along and spooks them a little bit, but once they realize it wasn't Mufasa, they're no longer scared. Then they start messing around saying that even the name Mufasa scares them.
Do it again. Mufasa. Mufasa, Mufasa, Mufasa.
Then they ask if Scar brought them anything to eat, and he gives them like this piece of a zebra. We also find out that Scar told them to kill Simba, but they failed. Then they say they couldn't do it because he wasn't alone. What are we supposed to do, kill Mufasa? Scar replies with yes, and then he goes into a whole song. Okay, so the song is basically about how Scar is going to be king, and that you need to be prepared for his reign of tyranny. It's literally the chorus. But he's basically telling the hyenas that there will be a special spot for them in his monarchy, and that they need to stick with him. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up his whole song. There's a decent amount of songs in this movie. I obviously can't play them because of copyright. I also want to say, if you ever seen The Lion King play, like in real life, when I went once when I was a kid, oh my gosh, that thing it's one of the coolest things fucking ever, bro. They have like these props and the animals, bro. I think it's during the I Can't Wait to Be King song. They like come through the owl, bro. They have these giant like giraffe and elephant props. Bro, that joint is fire, bro. I don't know what the age demographic of these videos are, but if you have a kid, okay, take them to the Lion King show if it ever comes in your town. Also, I guess if you don't have a kid, you can go yourself, but then you're gonna be looking like a weird ass ninja at the Lion King play by yourself. Anywho, we cut to the canyon, and if you know, you know. But Scar took Simba out to this canyon, and he's just like, you gotta wait for your dad, and he tells him to wait here. Your dad has a surprise for him. He then tells Simba he can't leave because, you know, he wouldn't want to get lost and end up like he was with the hyenas. Simba is just like, damn, how do you know about that? And Scar's just like, everyone knows about that. Really mentally messing with him. This is very abundant later on in the movie. But he also tells Simba to practice his roar. While he's doing that though, we get a glimpse of what's above the canyon, and we see it's a pack of wildebeest, and we see the hyenas talking, and they say they have to wait for Scar's signal. They then see the signal, and you see them start lurking. We cut back to Simba, and he's trying to scare this gecko with his roar. After a couple failed attempts, he does a successful one, and it echoes through the canyon. And next thing you know, there's rumbling everywhere. The bison start running down the canyon and are running towards Simba. Look at that boy face. That boy is scared. He's terrified. But obviously, I don't think Simba's small ass roar did this. It was the hyenas. But I do think it just helped make him think that it was his fault later on. While Simba's running for his life, we cut to Mufasa and Zazu. Like, damn, is there a stampede in the cavern? But we see Scar climb out of nowhere and be like, yo, Simba's in there, man. You need to go help him. And Mufasa, you already know he's activated now. He's like, Simba. We cut back to Simba, but he just climbed on this branch to stay safe. We then see Zazu flying over to figure out where Simba is. He finds him and he flies back to Mufasa to get help. Mufasa sees him and that boy jumps in, no hesitation. Zazu tries to go back for help, but Scar slaps this man against the rock, knocking him unconscious. We then cut back to Mufasa. That boy runs with the herd, makes a U-turn, gets hit by one of the wildebeest, and then the branch that Simba's on breaks, but Mufasa catches him out the air. While Mufasa's running, he gets hit again, knocking Simba out his mouth, but he then grabs him again and then gets knocked off this ledge, but Simba made it to safety. He then starts climbing up this rock. He makes it to Scar and he asks Scar to help him, but Scar stabs his balls, looks at him, gets right up to his face and says, "Long live the king," and then throws him off. Oh my god, bro. Nigga Scar, man. That nigga a bitch. We then cut to Simba in the canyon looking for his dad, and then he finds him. Keeps calling out to him, asking him to wake up, and he's messing with him, trying to get him to wake up too. Then he realizes something's wrong and he starts calling out for help. This is so sad, man. And once he realizes nobody's coming, he snuggles under his dad's paw and he lays there. And then out the f***ing dust, this two-time and bitch-ass backdooring fuck-ass nigga comes through. Wait a minute, let me calm down. And he goes, Simba, what have you done? And Simba's just like, it was an accident. And he's just like, it was an accident, but if it wasn't for you, he'd still be alive. Then he also says, what would your mother think? And obviously, him being a little kid, he's super scared, and Scar's just manipulating him because he's a fucking dickhead. He then tells him to run away. While he's running though, we see Scar, and then we see the hyenas behind him, and he says, kill him. And they start running after Simba. Simba sneaks through this crack in the cavern, and then ends up on this cliff. With the hyenas having him backed up into a corner, he jumps off, and he ends up getting into this like small little forest of thorns. One of the hyenas gets knocked off with him, and he gets covered in these thorns. This stops them from like fully pursuing him, so he's able to like actually get away. Which, you know, I guess this kind of makes sense since he's like smaller. He could make a more narrow escape through these like, what the fuck is this? The just thorns, just fucking thorns. Anywho, he got away. We then cut to Scar, and he's telling all the lions that we lost Simba and Mufasa. He then says with a heavy heart, he assumes the throne, and immediately his first order is putting the hyenas and the lions together. And we get a shot of Rafiki disappointed. It transitions into him on his tree, and he cries, and then he puts his hand on Simba's thing, and he wipes it off. I guess this is like marking Simba's death. I don't know. This ninja Rafiki, he should know some shit. Nevertheless, we get to Simba in the sun, and these vultures start going on his body, and then that's when they show up. Yes, sir! Timon and Pumbaa pull up. These are some of the best side characters in Disney, period, bro. Especially Pumbaa, bro. I love this ninja. It reminds me of my dog. But after scaring the vultures away, Timon lifts up Simba's paw, and he realizes it's a lion. He gets scared and goes back to Pumbaa. Pumbaa asks if they could keep him, but Timon's just like, it's a lion. We can't keep him. And Pumbaa's just like, he'll grow up and he'll be on our side. So they pick up Simba and they take him over to shade and water. When he wakes up, they ask him if he's okay, and they explain to him that they saved him. He says thanks, but then he walks away all depressed and stuff. Pumbaa runs over and he asks him what's eating him, and Timon says nothing. He's at the top of the food chain. You get it? Because he's like a lion. Come on, top of the food chain. They ask Simba where he's from, and Simba says, who cares? I can't go back anyway. Timon's excited about this because he's just like, he's an outcast just like one of us. Pumbaa asks what happens, but Simba doesn't want to talk about it. So Timon basically tells Simba that bad things happen, and that when the world turns its back on you, you turn your back on the world. He then tells Simba Hakuna Matata, and that it means no worries for the rest of your days. And it's also their problem-free philosophy, Hakuna Matata. They explain to him that it's a motto, and Simba asks what's a motto, and Timon says nothing. What's a motto with you? I mean, come on, bro. This shit's hilarious. You gotta admit. Then Pumbaa starts singing. His song was basically just about how he stunk a lot, and every time he went to the water hole, everybody would run away because he stunk so much. And that's why he's an outcast. And then it goes back to the Hakuna Matata song. But during the song, Simba gets hungry, and he's just like, what is there to eat? And they show him that all they eat is bugs. They get Simba to try one. He's like, it's all right. Then we get the whole montage of him going into adolescence and then being a full-grown lion. It's our problem-free philosophy, Hakuna Matata. This shit tough. Nah, but for real, I really slamming out over this Hakuna Matata shit. It's not a game. Anywho, the whole point is Simba's now a full-grown lion. We then cut to Scar and Zazu. Scar's playing with this bone, and Zazu is being like held in this like rib cage. I saw people saying this is Mufasa's remains, and that lions like eat each other or some bullshit. I'm not just gonna assume he ate Mufasa because of the fact that it's probably been years, so his shit like decomposed or whatever. Okay, I just did some research, and yes, it has been years. But what the f is this aging? Simba is apparently now 20, and this ninja was 10 when he was a cub. This looks like a 10-year-old lion. Are we dead serious? Then I looked up how old was Mufasa. Mufasa is apparently 40 when he died. So then I looked up how long do lions live. These ninjas only live 15 to 16 years, and that's the females. For the males, it's 8 to 10. Who the f made the aging for these movies? Anywho, Scar's trying to get Zazu to sing, and Zazu says Mufasa will never make him do this. This immediately pisses off Scar. And then we find out that Scar made it like a rule that you can't speak Mufasa's name in his presence, which means you could say it behind his back, but you know what? F it. As he's yelling at Zazu, the hyenas come in and they're basically just like, yo, Scar, there's no food. Scar says that the lioness is supposed to hunt, and the hyenas say, but they haven't been hunting. Basically, Scar's idea is that the lioness hunt for the hyenas, and I don't really know why he thought that would work if this nigga's supposed to be smart, but you know, it's whatever. Then they whisper that things were better under Mufasa, and this pisses him off again, and he shoos them away. We cut back to Simba and the gang. They're lying down in the grass after like eating some big meal. I don't know, they're talking about being full. Pumbaa looks up and he's just like, yo, Timon, do you know what those sparkly dots in the sky are? And Timon says they're fireflies that got stuck in the sky. And Pumbaa gives this really accurate description of stars.
I always thought they were balls of gas burning billions of miles away.
Nah, bro knows something we don't. Bro, what in the world? Then they ask Simba what he thinks, and after a little bit of peer pressure, he explains that someone once told him that the great kings of the past are up there looking over us. But they laugh at him and say that that's stupid. Simba agrees with them, but he's low-key hurting inside. He gets up, walks over to this cliff, and he like plops down. All this green like leaves, I don't know, pollen. This nigga has a pollen trail, bro, and it somehow makes its way all the way to Rafiki. Speaking of, rest in peace to voice actor that played Rafiki. Wait, what? Y'all just got my live reaction of finding out that James Earl Jones died. Even past Lion King, like, bro, this is the voice actor of Darth Vader, bro. Yo, rest in peace, Mufasa, bro. Rest in peace, Rafiki. But yeah, Rafiki gives it a little sniff and he's just like, smells like Simba. So he goes down this tree, grabs this turtle shell, mixes the like flowers in it with some fruit, and then like looks at it and he's just like, whoa, Simba's alive? I don't know how the that told him that, but yeah, he goes back to his drawing of Simba earlier that he smeared out, and he draws like a mane on it, I guess showing that he like grew up, and he's just like, it's time. We cut back to Pumbaa and Timon, and they're singing the In the Jungle song. A wimbo, in the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. Anywho, while Timon is singing, Pumbaa sneaks off to go find a bug. But right before he catches a bug, he sees a lion peeking through the brush. And bro gets to booking it. That boy is running through the forest, jumping over logs. He hits this tree trunk, does a wall run, turns around, then gets stuck in this root. Then Timon goes to save him. And right before the lion gets to him, Simba pulls up. Simba starts fighting this lion, but then she eventually pins him down. And he realizes it's Nala. She asks Simba who he is. And he's just like, I'm Simba. And she's just like, oh my gosh, it's Simba. And Timon's shocked. He's just like, what the fuck is happening right now? Timon, frustrated by them like not explaining anything, he asks them what's happening, and Simba explains that this is his best friend Nala. Nala says, wait till everyone finds out you've been here all this time, and what will your mother think? And Simba, obviously thinking everyone at the village like hates him, he's just like, I don't want to know what she thinks. She then says Scar told us about the stampede, and he's just like, well, what did he say? And she's like, well, it doesn't matter. It clearly fucking mattered, because if you ever watched this movie, if she told him right now, he probably would have understood what happened and wouldn't have gone through a lot of bullshit he did. But she then says that since he's alive, that means he's the king. And that boy Pumbaa instantly gets the glazing. And Timon asks him if he's really the king, and he says no. And Nala's just like, Simba, come on, man. Come on, dude. You're the king, man. You're the king. I don't know why I just did that. Nala asked them if she could speak with Simba in private, and Timon's just like, whatever you have to say, you can say in front of us. And Simba's just like, I ain't gonna lie, guys. Y'all need to get the fuck out of here. Nala then starts D1 guilt tripping. Hits bro with the eyes, and she's just like, you don't know how much this will mean to everybody. Then she says she really missed them, and they start like doing this like weird snuggle thing. And Timon and Pumbaa are in the bushes lurking, and they start singing about how they just lost their homie. This is real though. When bro get a girlfriend, he ain't got time for the gang. Anywho, we basically get this like montage of them running around the jungle. Low-key, this is kind of like some freaky ass shit going on over here. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I mean, you got the song playing, you got this scene, which I heard made some people furries, which I mean, like, I get it, but I don't get it. I don't get it. No, never mind. I just don't get it. But yeah, after they start snuggling, we cut back to Timon and Pumbaa, and they're crying about losing their friend. We then cut back to Nala and Simba, and she asked him if he's been alive this whole time, how come he never came back to Pride Rock? And he basically is just like, I had to find myself Hakuna Matata. And then she tells him that Scar let the hyenas take over the Pride Lands, and he's just like, what? And he says, but still, I just can't go back. You wouldn't understand. Then she says, I would understand if you told me, but he says, hell nah, and he starts walking away. She catches up to him, and she says that it's his responsibility to go back. And he says, what about you? You left. She says says she left to go find help and she found Simba. Simba basically is just like, too bad, I'm not going. Then she says, you're nothing like the Simba I remember.
According to the wiki, this is 15 years later, so I mean, like, that kind of makes sense.
But I'm gonna let it slide. But anyway, Simba walks off and he just starts pacing back and forth, talking to himself about how he can't go back and it won't prove anything. He then looks up to the sky and he's just like, you said you would always be there. Obviously he's trying to talk to Mufasa, but then he realizes it's his fault and he just kind of sits there. As he's sitting there thinking about life, he hears Rafiki tweaking in the bushes. Simba moves over to this log above this like water to kind of get away from him because he's making noise. And Rafiki just moves to a different tree and starts making noise in front of him. So Simba tries to get away from him again, but Rafiki cuts him off. And then Simba asks Rafiki, who are you? He replies with, who are you back? But real quick, how the fuck does he not know who Rafiki is? Like, I mean, yeah, you could say he was a kid when he was like held up and then thrown off the cliff. But are we to assume that in this man's 10 years of life? Yeah, I know it doesn't seem like he's actually 10 as a cub, but hey, bro, that's apparently what the chronologically is that what it's called? The Chronicles? That's what the Chronicles say, nigga. So do they just use Rafiki for the ritual and then they just never reintroduce him to Simba again? Like he's just never seen again? Like that just doesn't make any sense. This man pulls up for the ceremony and then goes straight back in the tree. Anywho, Simba says he thought he knew who he was, but now he's not so sure. Rafiki gets up to his face and he's just like, I know who you are, but it's a secret. And then he just starts making gibberish. Asandebana, Upanana. He just starts saying random shit. Basically, he's just rage baiting the hell out of Simba. Until Rafiki says he does know who he is, and he says he's Mufasa's son. And Simba's just like, wait a minute, you know my dad? But Rafiki started running away. Simba catches up to him, and he's just like, you knew my dad? And Rafiki's just like, I know your father. Simba basically is trying to break the news of his father's death, but Rafiki's just like, he's still alive. Then he says, he's over here, just follow me. He leads Simba through this, like, I don't even know what to describe this as, like tree roots. It looked like Hashirama just nutted all over the place. But as he's running, Rafiki stops him, and he brings him to this body of water. He looks in the water, and he's just like, that's not my dad. That's just my reflection. No shit, Sherlock. But Rafiki taps the water and he tells him to look harder. And as he's looking, he slowly sees Mufasa. And Rafiki tells him that Mufasa lives within him. And right as he realizes that, he hears his dad above him. And on some Black Panther spiritual realm shit, this ninja gets to talking to Simba from the afterlife. He basically just tells Simba that since he forgot himself, he also forgot Mufasa. And Mufasa tells him he needs to take his place back in the circle of life. Simba asks how is he supposed to do that? And Mufasa just tells him to remember who he is and remember that he is king. And just like that, he's gone. Then Rafiki walks up and he's just like, whoa, what was that? The weather. Very peculiar. This ninja is hilarious, bro. D1 troll. Simba says he knows what he has to do, but he doesn't want to face his past. So Rafiki whacks him on the head and he's just like, what's the problem? It's over. And Simba says it still hurts. Rafiki then tells him, yeah, the past hurts, but you could either learn from it or let it destroy you or some shit. Then he swings for him again and he dodges. And after this whole pep talk, Simba starts running to Pride Rock. That's what I'm talking about, ninja. Go get your shit back. We cut back to Timon and Pumbaa sleeping. Nala wakes up Timon and this scares the absolute shit out of him. She asks if they seen Simba and they're just like, we thought he was with you. Rafiki comes out of nowhere and he tells them that they headed over to Pride Rock. And Timon is confused and it leads to this like dialogue where Timon asks if the monkey was his uncle. And it's like the joke from earlier when Scar said it, like it really came full circle. Y'all know I love when shit comes full circle in these movies. I really be peeping this shit. Like I really do this. Like I'm dead serious. Like cut the video. Like come on, I'm goated. Like y'all know I'm goated. Matter of fact, everybody go to Instagram right now and go follow me on Instagram. Yes, I just plugged my Instagram in the middle of the video. First time I've ever done that. I don't care. And I know a lot of y'all watch this on the TV, so I'm gonna just let it linger for a little bit. Nah, I'm just kidding. We're gonna get raped. Nah, I'm trolling, bro. We gonna get back to the vid. Anywho, we get to Simba stumbling upon the Pride Land, and he sees that it's an absolute ruin. Then he looks at Pride Rock, and that boy gets activated. He's just like, nah, ninja, what's up? But Nala calls out to him. Are we gonna talk about how she caught up? Like, mind you, this ninja didn't go to sleep. Like, he just ran through the night. These ninjas slept and still caught up to him. It's not even just her. It's Timon and Pumbaa. What is the speed on these ninjas? Either Simba is slow as shit, or these ninjas got infinite stamina running at Mach 5. But you know me. I'ma let it slide. But anyway, Nala says it's horrible, isn't it? And he's just like, damn, I didn't believe you. Nala says she'll help him fight, and he says it's dangerous. And then she hits the, I laugh in the face of danger. Ha ha. You know, like the shit Simba did earlier? And then Timon looks at the Pride Land. He's just like, damn, this is what we're about to fight for? And Simba's just like, yeah, bro, it's my home. And Timon tells him, well, if it's important to him, we'll fight for it till the end. Whew! That's real love right there, ninja. That's real homies. So they make it to the hyenas, and they're all sleeping. And Simba says that Timon has to create a diversion. Timon says, what do you want me to do? Dress and drag and do the hula? And in the next scene, that's exactly what he's doing. So they put on this little show, and this obviously attracts the hyenas, and they run away to distract them. We then cut to Simba's mom walking up to Scar. She basically tells him there's no more food left in the Pride Lands to hunt, and if we don't leave the Pride Land, everyone will die. And this kind of proves that Scar is not fit to be king because he didn't maintain the circle of life, and the whole Pride Land is about to go to ruins. And real quick, I saw a deleted scene between Scar and Simba's mom, and that mess made me so uncomfortable, I barely wanted to mention it, but I'm definitely not putting it in the video. Edit me here, this is like a week after I said this. I went to go find like a freeze frame of the deleted scene. It gets worse. That's not Simba's mom, that's Nala. This nigga Scar tried to force Nala to marry him, and I'm 90% sure this is why she actually left the Pride Lands, because in like one scene she's like banned, and in the other scene I think she just runs away. So I have no clue. It actually gets deep. I don't know why they didn't put this in the movie, because to be honest, the pacing of this is crazy. This ninja goes to the jungle, and 5 scenes later he's back at Pride Rock. But you know, it's whatever. All right, back to old me. If you want to, of your own volition, after you watch the video, don't click off my video, fuck nigga, we gonna have a problem. But after you watch the video, you could go watch it. That joint is disturbing. But anywho, she starts to say that if he was even half the king Mufasa was, but before she could even get the sentence out, my dude pimp slaps the mess out of her. And then he sees Simba on top of the rock with lightning striking behind him. Whew, that boy looking like Vaughn. Got Scar scared, looking like he just saw a ghost. Simba walks up to his mom. She's just like, wow, Simba, you're alive. And Scar is scared shitless. He's just like, damn, Simba, I didn't know you were still alive. And that boy Simba says, give me one good reason why I shouldn't tear you to pieces. Whoo! That boy feeling different. Simba tells him to step down as king, and Scar's just like, you know, I would, obviously, since you're alive, but you know, they think I'm king. And he points up to the hyenas. Although that was low-key tough, fuck this nigga Scar. But the lionesses pull up and they're just like, but we don't think you're king, basically saying they're gonna have a standoff. But Scar tries to flip the script, saying, at least I'm not responsible for a family member's death. And Simba's mom is just like, what is he talking about? And Scar tells him that Simba's responsible for Mufasa's death, and Simba says he is. His mom walks up to him and she's like, tell me it's not true. And he's just like, it's true. And then Scar tries to gaslight him. He's just like, murderer. And he walks around Simba in a circle, telling him he's guilty and it's his fault for his father's death. This is some Among Us levels gaslighting. And he slowly backs him up off this cliff. Simba's at the edge of the cliff, and lightning strikes the shrubbery on the Pride Lands, and everything starts catching on fire. But as Simba is on the edge of the cliff, Scar just like, wow, this is a familiar sight. He gets right up to Simba's ear, and that's when he says it. And Simba immediately gets active. Bro somehow jumps from this ledge to on top of Scar. And that boy yells out, murder! Nah, bro done really messed up. Simba puts his paw over his neck and chokes him until he reveals that he killed Mufasa. And that was the final straw. The lionesses start jumping in, but the hyenas get to Simba first, and the lionesses get busy, bro. Then Timon and Pumbaa run in the dog pile, and they get the scrapping. Simba's fighting a couple of the hyenas, but one bites him on the neck and then gets hit with a stick. Then we see it's Rafiki. He jumps in the middle of some hyenas. One rushes him, he jumps up, weaves, bonks one on the head, kicks this one, kicks that one, smacks this one, smacks that one, hits the other one with the backhand face. We cut the 2 hyenas chasing Timon, but he runs into Zazu and goes into the cage with him. And then Pumbaa pulls up, and one of the hyenas is just like, yo, who's the pig? And apparently that's his trigger word, because bro gets pissed, charges right towards him, and they get bodied off screen. We don't even get to see what happened to him, but we know Pumbaa put in that work because they run out of the cave, scared as hell. We cut back to Simba, and that boy's looking for Scar. He sees him, and that boy was on sight with it. Immediately, runs straight towards him, no hesitation. Scar gets caught on this dead end on the top of Pride Rock, and Simba jumps through the flames to get to him. And Scar begs Simba for his life, and Simba says, you don't deserve to live. That boy moving different. And Scar starts saying anything to save his ass, and he says that it was the hyenas' idea and that they're the real enemy, but the hyenas hear them. Simba basically tells him he's not gonna kill him because he's not like him. Scar's just like, so what do you want me to do then? And he says, run and never return. And Scar sneakily sneaks by him, and he's just like, yeah, okay. But he picks up ashes from the ground and flicks it in Simba's face. While he's distracted, he pounces on him, bites on his neck, and they kind of get in this like wrestling match. Simba's pinned down, but he calls Scar in the face, knocking him off. They then pull up to each other, having a little hind leg battle. Simba hits him once, Scar gets 2 clean hits, and then Simba decks bro. And then Scar sends him right back, and then another one, knocking Simba through this fire. And this boy Scar jumps through it looking like he's doing the skate Jesus trick. But Simba puts up his hind legs right before he gets to him, knocking him over this ledge. I'm 90% sure this is something Nala did to him earlier, and I think that's the whole significance of this. But at the bottom of the ledge, all the hyenas are there. And since he just said that the hyenas were the enemy, they eat him. And right after they do, it starts raining, and all the fire goes out on the Pride Land. While this is happening, Simba comes down from Pride Rock, and Zazu bows at him, and he comforts his mom and Nala, and Rafiki points at Pride Rock. And Simba instantly understands what he has to do. He walks up, hugs Rafiki, and then he starts heading to the top of Pride Rock. Everyone is looking up at him in awe as he walks up, and when he gets to the top, he looks at the sky, and he hears Mufasa saying, "Remember." And he immediately locks in, roaring at the top of Pride Rock, and the lionesses follow. We then get a transition to the Pride Lands, revitalized, and the animals back with Simba and Nala, Pumbaa, and Timon at the top of Pride Rock. Can't forget Zazu. And then Rafiki gets between them, and you see that he has a lion cub in his arms, and he holds it in the air, showing that this is Simba's son and that the cycle continues. W fucking movie. Subscribe, monkeys!